All right, let's dive in. Today we're exploring a really fascinating concept, and that's Heliopolis, the city of the sun.
The city of the sun.
Now, uh, I know what you're thinking, ancient Egypt, pyramids, all that stuff.
Right.
But we're not talking about a physical city here. We're talking about Heliopolis as a symbol of higher consciousness.
Yeah, and it's a concept that comes up in a lot of different spiritual traditions, and we've got two really interesting sources that we're going to be looking at today. Shiva, City of the Sun, and A Book from the Sun. Both of these kind of delve into the esoteric and mystical side of this idea.
Cool. So to be clear, this deep dive, it's about understanding these abstract ideas, right?
Exactly.
Not literal cities or like historical events.
Right, we're going deep into consciousness here. We're talking about things like the Veil of Paraketh.
Ooh, the Veil of Parakit. That sounds kind of spooky.
A little bit, yeah. It's like a barrier to higher consciousness.
Yeah.
And then there's the solar angel, which is a really fascinating concept. We're going to unpack all of that today.
The solar angel. All right. Okay. So both sources talk about this idea of mastering the outer order as the first step towards Heliopolis.
Right.
Like, how do you even get to this city, this state of consciousness?
Yeah. Well, the outer order, it involves gaining control over your body, emotions, and your mind. It's almost like, training for a marathon. You wouldn't just go out and run 26 miles without any preparation.
Right.
You need to build up your stamina, right? You need to manage your energy, develop that mental discipline.
Okay. Yeah. So you're saying the outer order is kind of like that, but for your inner world.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's a great analogy. Okay. So you've been putting in the work. You're like, all right, I'm getting a handle on my thoughts. I'm starting to understand my emotions, all that.
Yeah.
How do you actually reach Heliopolis? What's the journey like? How do you get there?
Right. Well, that's where the Veil of Paraketh comes in. This is that barrier, that fog that keeps us from seeing reality in its fullness.
Okay. So how do you get through this veil? Do you have to meditate for years in a cave or something? What's the secret?
Well, that's the interesting thing. This source actually talks about an experiment where they combined acupuncture and guided visualization to help people break through.
Acupuncture and visualization.
Yeah, they called it the Spiritual Insight Program. And the results were pretty incredible. Almost every participant reported seeing stars when they broke through.
Wait, stars?
Stars, like as if they were gazing into the night sky.
That's wild. So you're telling me acupuncture and visualization can lead to like a breakthrough in consciousness, seeing stars.
That's what the source is saying, yeah.
Yeah.
It suggests that there's something beyond our ordinary perception, something vast and luminous waiting to be discovered.
Wow. Okay, but if this veil is so real, why doesn't everybody just see stars?
Well, the source explains that not everyone who tries to cross the veil has the same experience. Some people encounter a fog, a nothingness. Some people pass through with ease. It seems to depend on your level of preparation and something they call the Dominus Liminis.
Dominus Liminis, what's that?
It's kind of like a guardian at the threshold, like a higher aspect of yourself that knows if you're truly ready to face what's on the other side.
Okay. So it's not just about like techniques or willpower.
No.
There's something deeper at play here, something that determines if you're really ready for this shift in consciousness.
Absolutely. And there's another concept linked to this that we need to talk about. The dweller on the threshold.
The dweller on the threshold. Okay, that sounds a little creepy.
A little bit, yeah. Think of it as a manifestation of your shadow side.
My shadow side.
All the fears, doubts, unresolved issues that you've been carrying around. The source explains that before you can fully enter Heliopolis, you have to confront this dweller.
So it's like facing your inner demons before you can step into the light.
Exactly. It's like that saying, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. The dweller, in a way, is a guardian of that treasure.
Okay, that's a powerful image. So let's say you've faced the dweller, you've passed through the veil.
Yeah.
What does it actually feel like to be inside Heliopolis? Like what awaits you there? Paint me a picture.
All right. Well, we're stepping into the realm of the causal plane. And that's what's fascinating about all of this.
Okay.
We're not talking about a physical place. We're talking about a state of consciousness. And in theosophy, they often associate this with something called Tifereth on the tree of life, which is a symbol of balance and connection to the divine.
Okay, starting to see why you said we were going deep. But what does it mean to be on this causal plane? What would it feel like if I were there?
Imagine stepping out of a black and white movie. And suddenly, you're in a world of vibrant color and multidimensional sound.
Okay.
That's kind of what the source describes. They talk about experiencing this lightness of being, a sense of unconditional love, even having a golden aura.
A golden aura. Okay, that sounds pretty amazing, I gotta say. But I'm not gonna lie, all this talk about higher realms and golden auras, it's a bit hard to grasp sometimes, you know.
Yeah, I get it. It's all very abstract. But what's interesting is that the source also mentions something called sunspots in the causal aura.
Sunspots, like on the sun.
Exactly. But in
Right?
this context, they represent karmic stains, unresolved issues that can still affect you, even on this higher plane. They're like little distortions in your perception of reality.
Hmm. So even in this blissful state with the golden aura, you're saying there's still work to be done.
It seems that way, yeah.
Okay.
And this is where the idea of the solar angel comes in. It's one of the
Mhm.
coolest concepts in all of this, I think.
Okay, I am all ears. Tell me more about the solar angel. What role does it play?
So imagine having a guide, a wise and compassionate being who's dedicated to helping you navigate these karmic stains and achieve greater harmony within yourself.
Okay, so like a spiritual coach, a mentor.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And what's really cool is that the source emphasizes the solar angel doesn't just give you abstract advice.
Ah.
It guides you through real-life experiences, helps you learn and grow through everything that happens in your life.
Wow, so it's like having a secret weapon in dealing with all of life's challenges.
Yeah, you could say that. And the source goes even deeper, describing this process called the ignition of the causal body.
Mm.
This is where things get really intense.
All right, I'm ready for the next level. What happens during this ignition?
Well, hold on tight because the source uses some pretty wild imagery here. They talk about a venturi, like a powerful force pulling everything inward, and an hourglass symbolizing a merging of two forces. They even describe it as two triangles coming together to represent the union of your personality with your higher self.
Wow, that's some powerful imagery. So is this ignition like a sudden dramatic event?
It can be,
Mm.
but the source also suggests that it's an ongoing process, something that unfolds gradually throughout your life. And it's during this process that those sunspots that we talked about earlier start to get burned away.
So it's like a purification, like a refining fire that transforms you from the inside out.
Exactly. But it's important to note that the source also mentions some potential challenges that can arise during this phase. Things like sudden bursts of energy or insights, what some traditions call sivis.
See these, yeah.
Yeah, fluctuations in relationships, even an eventual burning out of the causal body itself.
Whoa, hold on. Burning out the causal body. That sounds a little scary.
Yeah, it suggests that this journey is not for the faint of heart, you know.
Yeah.
But the source also emphasizes that even this burning out, it's part of the process. It's a necessary step on the path to even greater transformation.
Okay, so we've gone from mastering our outer world to confronting our inner demons, passing through this veil of perception,
Yeah.
and experiencing this profound ignition of our causal body. Where do we go from here? What's the next stage of this journey?
Well, that brings us to a really pivotal point in the whole process, something the source calls the changeover.
The changeover. Okay, I am intrigued. What exactly does that entail?
That's where we'll pick up in part 2 of our deep dive.
Okay, gotta leave us hanging, huh?
Got to keep you coming back for more.
That's right. But I can tell you this. It involves a shift from actively seeking to something much more receptive. Almost like surrendering to a force greater than yourself. Oh, that's a perfect cliffhanger. I cannot wait to hear more about this changeover and what it means for our journey to Heliopolis. For now, listeners, think about what resonates with you from what we've explored so far. What inner work might you need to do to prepare for your own journey to the City of the Sun? We'll be back soon to continue our exploration.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We're picking up right where we left off in our exploration of Heliopolis, the City of the Sun. And last time, things got pretty interesting when we started talking about the changeover. Yeah, this is where things really take a turn. You know, we were talking about that 5.5 fulcrum point, that shift from actively striving to a state of receptivity.
Right, like a rocket reaching its peak and then gracefully gliding back down to Earth.
That's a perfect analogy. The source describes it as surrender, like letting go of control and allowing yourself to be guided by a higher force. But how does that actually play out in our lives? You know, that's what we want to unpack now.
Honestly, that's where I kind of get a little lost. Does surrender mean giving up, just letting life happen to me? That doesn't sound very empowering.
No, no, it's not about passivity at all. It's more like, imagine you're an expert sailor. You can't control the wind, but you can adjust your sails, to harness its power and guide your ship.
Okay, okay, I see the difference. So it's more about aligning yourself with this greater force, working in harmony with it, rather than trying to force things your way.
Exactly. The source calls it becoming a servant of the light. It's about recognizing that you've done the inner work, you've cleared a path, and now it's time to trust that wisdom and guidance that arises.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. But doesn't that trust require like a huge leap of faith? What if doubts creep in or things don't go as planned?
It's natural to have doubts. In fact, the source even points out that this phase is often marked by distractions, temptations almost like tests, to see how committed you are to the path.
Oh, okay. So how do you stay the course when those challenges they inevitably show up?
Well, it's about developing that inner resilience, that unwavering commitment to your growth. The source uses the analogy of a tree with deep roots. It can weather any storm because its foundation is strong.
Right. Right. So it's like we're deepening our roots, strengthening our connection to that inner wisdom so we don't get swayed by every passing distraction.
Exactly. And remember, this inner work, it has an outward impact. The source emphasizes that as you purify your being, you you radiate a light that attracts others who are on a similar path. It's the concept of soul groups, where like-minded individuals are drawn to your energy.
That's a really beautiful idea. It's like the more aligned you are with your true self, the more you attract people who resonate with that same frequency.
Precisely. And it's not just about attracting others. It's about new possibilities and opportunities emerging. Remember, we talked about cities, those heightened states of awareness or even psychic abilities that can manifest as you progress.
Yeah, yeah, that part was really intriguing. But you also mentioned that cities can be disruptive if not handled wisely.
Right. It's like suddenly having access to like a powerful new technology. You
Yeah.
need the knowledge and the skill to use it safely and effectively. That's why this changeover phase emphasizes receptivity and surrender.
Okay, yeah. So instead of getting caught up in chasing after cities or trying to control them, it's more about allowing them to unfold naturally as part of the process.
Exactly. Trusting that the right abilities will emerge at the right time and that your solar angel will guide you in using them for the highest good.
Okay, so let's say you've navigated the changeover, you've deepened your roots and you're allowing these new abilities to emerge. What comes next in this journey to Heliopolis?
What the source describes a really powerful symbolic event called the destruction of the temple. Now, before you imagine like a dramatic scene with crumbling pillars and fire, remember this is an inner experience.
Right, right. We're talking about symbolism here. So what does this destruction of the temple actually represent?
Remember in the Book of Life and Death
Hmm.
how the author is instructed to absorb the essence of his instruments and then discard them. It's about letting go of the external forms, the rituals, the tools that have served you up to this point.
So it's like saying I've learned the lessons, I've integrated the practices, and now I'm ready to move beyond them.
Exactly. It's a recognition that the true temple is within you. And the real journey is about refining your being, not clinging to outer forms.
Okay, that's powerful. So once you've let go of those external attachments, where does the journey lead you?
From here, the source outlines a progression through the spheres of Gebra and Cheesed on the Tree of Life.
I remember you mentioning those earlier. Geber is associated with strength and discipline, while cheesed represents mercy and compassion.
Right. It's like you're moving through these different qualities, further refining and balancing your being.
So it's about integrating both the masculine and feminine aspects of yourself, the strength and the compassion.
Exactly. And as you do that, the source suggests that your causal body becomes like a star-going nova, radiating just this immense amount of energy and light.
A star going nova. That sounds incredible, but also a bit intense.
It is. Yeah, and ultimately it leads to what the source describes as a cosmic burnout. Now, I know that might sound a bit alarming.
Yeah, burnout doesn't usually have positive connotations.
Right, but in this context, it signifies a completion, a fulfillment of purpose. The causal body, having reached its peak, collapses in on itself, like a star collapsing into a black hole.
So it's not a negative burnout. It's more like a transformation, a shift to a completely new level of being.
Precisely. And this brings us to the edge of a place called the Abyss, which separates the city of the sun from an even more mysterious realm, the city of the pyramids.
The abyss. That sounds ominous. What exactly is the abyss?
It's described as a complete annihilation of the ego, a surrender to the unknown, a leap of faith into a realm beyond comprehension. It's the ultimate letting go.
Wow, that's intense. I'm both terrified and strangely excited to hear more.
I know, right? And we'll delve into the mysteries of the Abyss and the city of the pyramids in part 3 of our deep dive. But for now, I'm curious to hear your thoughts. What aspects of this journey resonate with you the most?
Honestly, the whole idea of the changeover, surrendering to something greater, that really speaks to me. I think a lot of us get caught up in trying to control every aspect of our lives, and this idea of aligning with a higher force, it feels really liberating.
I agree. And it's a reminder that the journey isn't just about reaching a destination, but about transforming ourselves along the way. We'll continue our exploration in just a moment. Listeners, take a moment to reflect on where you are on your own journey. Are you in a phase of active striving, or are you starting to feel that shift towards surrender and receptivity? We'll be back soon to continue our exploration.
All right, welcome back to the deep dive. So we've journeyed from the outer order through the veil of Paraketh, experienced the ignition of the causal body. We've even navigated the changeover. And now we're standing at the edge of the abyss.
The Abyss, yeah. It's aptly named, isn't it?
Yeah.
It represents the ultimate surrender, like a complete annihilation of the ego, a leap into the unknown. It's where everything you thought you knew about yourself dissolves, about reality itself.
It sounds terrifying, honestly, like stepping off a cliff with no guarantee of a safe landing.
It can feel that way. The source even compares it to a psychological death, an ego death.
Yeah.
But it's on the other side of that death where something truly extraordinary lies, the city of the pyramids.
Okay, now I'm really curious. We talked about Heliopolis as this symbolic representation of a higher state of consciousness.
Wow.
What makes the city of the pyramids even more profound? What's the difference?
Well, if Heliopolis is a city of light, a place of radiant individuality, the city of the pyramids is described as a realm of pure unity, of oneness. It's where all separations dissolve. We realize you're not just a drop in the ocean, but the ocean itself.
Wow, that's a powerful image. But how do you even begin to grasp such a concept, let alone experience it?
That's the mystery, isn't it? The source doesn't offer concrete steps or techniques for crossing the abyss. It suggests that you can't will yourself into this state of unity. It's a grace, a gift that comes when you've truly surrendered to the process, when you've let go of all attachments, even the attachment to enlightenment itself.
So it's like saying, I've done all the work I can do. Now I simply surrender to what is.
Yes, it's an act of ultimate trust, a willingness to fall into the void without knowing what awaits you on the other side. And the source hints that this surrender isn't a one-time event. It's an ongoing process. Even after you've glimpsed the city of the pyramids, the journey continues. The spiral keeps unfolding.
It makes you wonder what lies beyond even that ultimate unity, doesn't it?
It does.
It really does.
But perhaps that's the beauty of it all, right? The mystery, the infinite potential for growth and expansion. And the source reminds us that this journey isn't about escaping the world or striving for some distant future state of perfection. It's about bringing that light, that wisdom, that love into our everyday lives, into our relationships, into our work, into everything we do.
Yeah, that's it, right? It's about embodying the qualities of Heliopolis, of the city of the pyramids, right here, right now.
Exactly.
This has been such an incredible deep dive. From the outer order to the abyss, we've covered so much ground, explored so many profound concepts.
It really has. It's been a privilege to explore these ideas with you.
Absolutely. And to you listening, we hope this deep dive has sparked something within you, a curiosity, a yearning, a sense of possibility. Perhaps you've recognized yourself in some of the stages of this journey, or perhaps you're inspired to explore these concepts further.
Remember, the city of the sun, the abyss, the city of the pyramids, these are not just abstract ideas. They're living realities within each of us.
That's good.
The journey is yours to take.
So as we conclude this deep dive, we invite you to contemplate your own personal path. What steps can you take today to cultivate greater awareness, to face your inner shadows, to surrender to something greater than yourself? What awaits you on the other side of your own personal abyss?
Keep seeking, keep exploring, and keep shining your light. Until next time.